Let's learn how to create portable and reproducible R projects using the renv package. For an example, I have on my screen a typical data analysis project. At the top of my script, I load 8 different libraries. And when I source this file, everything runs as expected. Ideally, when a collaborator clones this project and runs it on their own machine, it should work just as smoothly. But in reality, that's not always guaranteed. If they have different versions of the packages installed, things can break, even if the code itself hasn't changed. That's where the renv package comes in. renv isolates dependencies on a project-by-project basis, so each project manages its own package environment. That way, when someone else runs your code, they're not just using the same script, they're using the exact same package versions too. To work with renv, start by installing it on your system just like you would any other package. So in the console, I'll say install.packages renv. Next, if you don't already have a project folder open, go ahead and open it. And then in the root of that project, you can see my working directory is currently set to this renv demo project I've got open. I'm going to run the command renv init. The first thing to observe about what that command did is it generated an renv.lock file. The purpose of this file is to record what packages we're currently using in this project, including the specific version numbers as we have them installed. This information will be used by collaborators when they're running our code. They're going to run a command called renv restore, and it's going to read from this file and make sure it gets the exact same package version that we're working with. The second thing that was created when we ran the init command was the renv folder. There's 2 main things I want to highlight about this folder right now. The first is the library subdirectory. This is where all of the packages that this project is currently using is going to be pulling from now. So rather than pulling from our system package library that exists on our computer, as it typically works with R, we're going to be looking at this specific project level library. And just as evidence of that, I'm going to run a command in the console. It's .lib paths. The second path listed here is a global renv cache directory. And this is where the package files will actually exist. The first path, which is the library directory within this project, will contain symbolic links to those packages in the cache directory. But the key thing here is it's not pointing to our system's main R package path, which is what we would see in a non-renv project. In fact, just to show that, I'm going to create a new separate window. And we'll run libpaths again. And here you can see it's pointing to our system-wide R package library. All right, so that's the key difference. In this project, it's now looking at a project-specific library instead of that system-wide library. Now that we've got renv set up, let's talk about what our workflow is going to look like moving forward. Let's imagine there's another package I want to use in this project. So I'll start by installing that package using the install.packages command. And just as an example, I'll use the broom package. Then I'll load that package in my script via the library command. And then finally, I want to run the command renv snapshot. This is telling me it's going to update that renv lock file, and it asks if I want to proceed. So I'll type Y for yes and hit enter. And with that, all our package information is updated for this specific project. So now I want to turn my attention to version control and talk about what we will and won't be committing to our repository now that we're using renv. We are going to be committing the renv.lock file because this is what contains our list of packages that this project's using. So that's information that needs to be conveyed to any collaborators that are working in this code base. What we're not going to commit are things like the library subdirectory in our renv folder, because that's going to be managed by the renv package itself. When a collaborator clones this code base and they run that restore command, it's going to read our lock file, see what packages it's going to need, and it's going to make sure they're set up within this library subdirectory. So that's not actual code that we want to travel with our repository. It's just a directory that needs to exist and is going to be managed directly by the renv system. Likewise, there's another directory called staging that is something that renv is using behind the scenes. It's not something we need to directly work with in the code or have it be part of our repository, so that's going to be ignored as well. And all of this ignoring is managed by the gitignore file that came with the renv folder when it was set up for us. If we open that up, you can see it's ignoring the library subdirectory, the staging subdirectory, and these are just other miscellaneous directories that might get created by that renv system that we never want to track in our repository. Jumping back to things we do want to track, in addition to the .lock file, we also want to track this .r profile and the activate.r file within the renv directory. The role of the .r profile is anytime we start a new session in this project, any code in this file is going to be triggered. And you can see there's a line of code in here that renv added that set it to source this activate.r file. The activate.r file is in the renv directory. And its job is basically to set up how this entire renv package system is working. This is what makes it so that when we're looking for packages in this project, it knows not to look in our system-wide directory, but to look specifically in this library directory for this specific project. All right, now if all I just said about what to commit, not to commit is a little confusing, let's switch over to the source control pane so we can see this directly. So we are going to commit our .r profile. So I'm going to stage that change. We do want to commit our renv.lock file, stage that change. The gitignore file within the renv subdirectory, we're going to commit that. We are going to commit the activate.r file. There's also a settings file, which you can take a look at, and you can look up what these different settings are. They will influence how the renv system is working. We'll go ahead and commit that. And then, of course, we would commit any of our actual scripts as well. dsstore is just a Mac-specific meta file. We don't need that. We could actually probably add that to our gitignore file, but for right now, I'll just discard those changes. All right, so those are all the stage changes. And again, the key thing to notice here is it's not going to be things like this library subdirectory within the renv folder. Let me go ahead and make this commit. I'll sync my changes to GitHub. And then switching over to my browser, I've got the repository currently loaded on GitHub. I'm just going to refresh that to make sure I'm looking at the latest. If we look at the commit history, you can see that commit that I just made. And what I want to do now is replicate what a collaborator would do if they were working on this project. So first thing is I'm going to grab the URL to clone this project. I'll just grab the HTTPS URL. And then I'll go back to Positron and let's create a new window separate from our current window. This will create a new blank R session as well. And then we're going to create a new project and we'll import this directly from Git. So we'll say new folder from Git. I'll paste in the URL. I can choose where on my computer I want this to be installed. I'll just put this on my desktop. And you can see just by loading this project, some stuff happened in the console related to renv. It basically bootstrapped the system. It made sure that it was downloaded and it was installed. And then it's telling me that none of the packages recorded in the lock file are currently installed. Use the renv restore to restore the project library. So just like we've talked about, we want to run this command when we're setting this project up on a new system, whether we're a new collaborator or we set it up on a different machine, whatever the case might be. We'll go ahead and run that initially. Give it permission to proceed. And there you can see it installed all the packages we need using the exact versions I had in the other session where I set this project up. And if we look in our RN folder, we can see we now have a library directory there as well with all the paths to the packages that we need for this project. So the final step just to make sure everything's working is I'll open up my demo script and I'll source it and just make sure it works exactly the same as it did in my other environment. To wrap things up, I want to draw your attention to the notes that go along with this video. You'll find a link in the description. The notes include all of the code I covered and make a handy reference if you want to bookmark this material for later.